Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello everybody, Michael Quarles, and welcome to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Today we have podcast number 175, and my goodness, it is a single question. I'd have you know, though, that single question is taking up the entire sheet of paper. So there's a lot of words for me here to read. So you're going to figure out and find out if I can actually read or not. Before we start, couple things. Don't know if any of you know it, but over at Yellow Letters, yellowletters.com, which is a marketing company for real estate investors, they have a platinum card. You get that platinum card and you'll get a 15% discount on all of your purchases in 2016. That is amazing to me. That's an outstanding opportunity for those of you who want to start doing direct mail. We know direct mail works because that with direct mail, we can actually contact those folks who can actually afford to sell us their house. A lot of folks still can't sell us their house. They don't have enough equity in it. But through direct mail, we can find those folks. And yellowletters.com has a platinum card that allows you to get discounts up to 15%. So that's kind of cool stuff. Secondly, some of you may have been used to listening to my podcasts over at buysellfixflip.com. And I absolutely appreciate those of you that were there doing that. I want you to know those podcasts will remain on that site. However, all podcasts from this moment forward are going to be at the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show site. And you can find that if you're listening at michaelquarles.com. And for those of you that may need help on Quarles, I know I do from time to time, it is Quarles. So michaelquarles.com. And there'll be some nice stuff there. We're going to be interviewing a lot of folks, doing a lot of great podcasts. I'm going to take this to a different level for you folks that are listening on a regular basis. You're going to learn a lot this year in 2016. My goal for you is to have each one of you that want to buy houses successfully and for profit to be able to do so. And so we're going to try like heck. Here we go. Let's get into this question that's taken up the entire piece of paper. Here we go. I have a lead on a property with excellent potential, but the property is built as a 2-bedroom single-family home along with 2 1-bedroom apartments. The property is in an excellent neighborhood near a college and would be a very attractive rental property for a long-term investor. My question is in getting a CMA on such a property, when there is nothing quite like it in the neighborhood. So apparently we have a property that, although may be conforming, we don't know that yet, but may be conforming to the lot, but it's unique to the neighborhood. So there's some obsolescence that could be, something negative to the neighborhood. Could be a positive thing though. So we don't know yet, but it's different. So they're not able to pull a CMA, or the CMA is not giving them like type results. Continuing on with the question. It was suggested to me to get a professional appraisal, which makes sense, but I've not even made an offer on it yet, and I'm worried of paying for one without a contract. Yes, please do not start spending money on a property prior to having that contract, but we're going to get into that in a second. Continuing. The owner states that a previous investor offered her $300,000 that she turned down. I believe this is overvalued due to some needed repairs to the home, and I also believe that I can present a better case to come down on her price than the previous investor. However, the added value of the income generating apartments might make the $300,000 a reasonable price. I frankly do not know. The person providing the CMA estimated the value to be about $225,000 to $240,000 as is value prior to learning about the rental units. I know that it needs leveling, I'm assuming the foundation, new kitchen and baths, new windows at a minimum to bring this up to the neighborhood standards. I'm curious how I should come up with a realistic offer before paying for an appraisal. Any suggestions? Yes. Thank you first for sending in this excellent question. Without these excellent questions, we just don't look as good as we should. So I appreciate the opportunity to look good and answer as much as I can answer. Let's back up a little bit. Your problem is getting a CMA on a property when there's nothing quite like it in the neighborhood. I so feel your pain because that's what happens sometimes. Here's what I would typically do in a case like this. Now, it's not something I'm going to ask you to do. It's what I would typically do. I fall back to, I like what I like, I do what I do. So if I don't like something, I don't do that something. I like single families. I like them, I get it, I love them. I can value a single family property as good as an appraiser. You throw in a vacant lot, you throw in a commercial building, you throw in a multifamily building. Yeah, I don't like it as much. I'm not as good at it at that point. So I would, the moment I realize, hey, I have this and this other thing, and I'm going to have a hard time getting a CMA, I'm just going to go to my next opportunity and say, hey, next opportunity, what can I do to you? Kind of stuff, or do for you. And this opportunity will go to an investor who wants to spend the time and due diligence, which they should do in most cases because they don't have enough opportunity. So this opportunity is the only thing they have. So they have to give it as much attention as they can until they squeeze the deal out of it or determine that it isn't a deal. But in my case, I have plenty of opportunity, so I would just kick it to the curb and go to the one that I like doing, which is the single family, single front doors, those kinds of things. Does that mean I don't buy duplexes? Absolutely doesn't mean that. But when I do buy a duplex or triplex or two houses on one lot, it's because the price has gotten so low and we can gather the information and it's readily available to us. We're not having to figure something out. Our systems can figure it out for us. In this case, you don't have the systems in the first place, and then you very, very possibly could have a non-conforming. What a non-conforming is you have an R1 lot, residential, and for one unit. And someone at some point in time, and this happens a lot, they put a couple shacks on it in the back and plumbed it and, put a sewer line to it or septic tank to it and electricity, and, they turn it into a little apartment. And there's a time in life, history where that happened a lot, but it was still only an R1 lot. So it's a non-conforming use. It's not going to they're not going to make you tear it down, but because you're having a hard time finding a comparable is telling me that you're probably in an area and that doesn't necessarily zone for multifamily, and you just have non-conforming. So it is what it is. And I bet when that seller borrowed their money was more expensive because on the appraisal, the appraiser would have called for a non-conforming use. So it would cost them a little bit more. So just understand that as well. But let's assume for a second it's not non-conforming. It's just, it's just sitting there all by itself and no one else has ever had a triplex in the neighborhood and this is the only one. So, and it's an anomaly kind of thing. What do you do if you want to try to figure this one out? Well, I would CMA it as a house. So I would look at it as if there two units were not there. Two units not there, okay? They're not there. What is that house CMA at? If the number for the CMA is sufficient for you to buy it and fall forward and negotiate with the seller, then I would just take those two numbers. Anything above the CMA that you get for the two houses would be, icing on your cake, so to speak. I would take it one step further, however. I would then CMA the dollar amount. So one is I'm CMAing the single family resident, looking for comparable sales on a single family. The other one is I'm going to do a comparative market analysis on the dollar of the income dollar. So if I say, okay, my single family house can rent for, and I'm just using round numbers, $1,000, and my 2 one-bedrooms can rent for $200, so I can get $1,400 a month. What is $1,400 a month CMA in that area? Quarter mile away, 5 years of construction, those kinds of things. So if $1,400 worth of income is a $400,000 structure, then that's an easy way for me to say, okay, now I have a $400,000 value here. So I'd look at it from two different angles on that. You're going to have a real hard time, and as I can tell by how you've written it, to find a house that has 2 single families on it. So just take the idea of the house with 2 single families away and just do a CMA on the money. What's the return there? And that may help. Now, here's the bigger question for you. I've got to ask you this question. Why don't we have it under contract? Now, I know, well, Mike, I don't know what I want to offer her yet. I know, but you've told me inside of this letter that she had turned down $300,000. However, and I'm assuming that's from a realistic investor. Let's assume for a second they know what they're doing. I know we can also assume they don't know what they're doing, but let's assume they do know what they're doing. And a 300 was an offer based upon, some discount of value. And you told me inside of your letter that, you believe you have the ability to convince her to take less than 300. Why have we not done that? Guys and gals, when we have an opportunity to get a contract, please get the contract. Even if you only get the option to have a contract, which I would rather you not do, but even if you just do that, you just get it under contract, because once you have it under contract, then you can spend some time, and time is money, and researching what you don't know or what you believe you know to confirm what you believe you know. But get a contract. So I'm going to go out, not me personally, I don't mean it that way, but someone like me, some guerrilla investor, is going to go out there and get a contract because they have a seller who wants to sell a house. She's talking to now at least 2 people, and you're not the last one she's talked to. So go out there and get this contract signed. Use your skill set, and you're going to say, but Mike, I don't know what it's worth. It doesn't matter at this point. Here's what I know you can and can't do. With the contract, you can renegotiate that contract when you in fact determine what you don't know and confirm what you know. And when you do determine what you don't know, if that causes you to have to renegotiate it, you can renegotiate your contract. You cannot renegotiate a contract that you do not have. You can't renegotiate a contract that somebody else has. And you're going to spend all of this time on research when in your paragraph, the 3rd paragraph, you said, I can present a better case to come down on her price, than the previous investor. If that is the case, go get it under contract. Because we don't know what we don't know yet. You're at the fact-finding stage, but you need a contract. Because you shouldn't be out there trying to make deals happen. But let's assume for a second that you're not trying to make a deal happen. You just don't know what this deal is, but you find out during the due diligence that this is a really good deal. And that $300,000 she wants, man, that's even a low price. Well, if someone else has the agreement, they have the agreement, you're stuck. You did all this work for nothing. Get it under contract. As far as the appraisal's concerned, I think there's value in that, but it's jumping the gun too soon. So we're going to get it under contract. We're going to do our due diligence. So she says she wants $300,000. You said you can talk her down. You talk her down. I don't know, whatever it is, you talk her down to. You get it under contract. At that point, you start doing your due diligence. You maybe you get a CMA, maybe you get a double CMA. You do some 6-packs. You're going over there and looking at properties in the area that are like hers, finding out how they compare what they sell for, what they sold for. You order a BPO, broker's price opinion. Maybe you have to order 2. Now, I'll tell you, because you have 3 pieces of property here, you're actually going to pay for that BPO 3 times, or a cost of 3 BPOs, because single family, 2 individual houses, that makes 3. That's okay. The BPO agents, they're different than a regular CMA agent. A BPO agent is typically someone that's going to deal with lenders on the REO side of real estate, and they're accustomed to doing BPOs. They understand it. They're going to go inside, take pictures. They're going to look for repairs, for modification requirements. They're going to look for a lot of little things, and they also know what the inventory base that they have that's not exposed on the MLS yet, and how your property value will compare to that property value that's going to be hitting the MLS. So there's a lot of value to a BPO. Yes, it's going to cost you some money. We pay $150 a unit to get them, and it is what it is. We use Coaster, Coaster, however it's spelled. I think it's .com. $150. Different story. Someone will write me and ask me, why do we use a BPO supplier instead of an agent? And that's a different podcast for sure. But hopefully someone will ask me that question. So get that done after you get your contract. Now, once you get that done, here's what I want you to do prior to the appraisal. So we've got it under contract. We used our skill set to get it under $300,000. We still don't know what it's worth, but we're comfortable with, well, we have a contract. We get a BPO. The BPO comes in, and our numbers are relatively okay. So we didn't think it was, maybe we contracted it for $270, and the BPO comes in at the as-is value of $325. Is that enough room? It depends on your business model. Well, if the BPO came in at $150, we'd kick the deal. We wouldn't fall forward. We'd be happy that we only spent the money on the BPO and we're done. But if it came in at what we wanted it to come in to at or close, then the next step that we're going to try to accomplish, and prior to that appraisal, is now internally we're going to start figuring out if we truly want to buy the house. Because just because something is worth what we think it is, or close to, do we want to buy it? What are the other things that are impacting that property? What else is going on? Is there a high vacancy rate in the neighborhood? Is there a high crime rate in the neighborhood? Is the days on market in the neighborhood going to be so long that my cost of holding it is going to erode away at most of my potential profit? We're going to start asking ourselves, should I kick this deal even though I have a deal that's valued and I can make money on? If I sell it today, I can make money on it. But does that deal, is it going to require me to have it for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever it is? Is there some obsolescence to it? Economic and functional. Does the house look, like it's weird layout, or it needs modernizing, or needs remodeling, or rehabbed, or whatever you want to call it? Is there something that's going to cause me to not want to buy the house? Let's assume you ask those questions of yourself, and all the answers are no, I want to buy the house. I spoke to all the neighbors. The neighborhood's pretty good. I looked around the infrastructure. Yeah, they've got new supermarkets. They've got this. They've got that. Yeah, I don't have any crime from the school. I don't have any of this stuff. This is a great property. Fantastic. Third thing I want you to do. Third thing. And I think it's important. I want you to get a home inspection. I want you to spend the $250, $280, $325, $400 and get a home inspection. I want someone other than your BPO agent and yourself who has trained to look at houses from a what is wrong with it functionally. Not that it has functional obsolescence. It's not what I mean. functionally as in what's broken in it, what needs to be repaired in it, those kinds of things. While that home inspector is doing that, if you have boots on the ground, I want you or some boots to look at properties that are on the market, that are for sale, even if they don't necessarily represent your property, meaning they're not like type, consistently. Like they're not a big house with two little, one bedrooms. They're just a house or what have you. I want you to have someone, either yourself or your boots, while you're getting your home inspection done, look at those houses from a home inspector's perspective. I want you to know how it compares. So if you have, as an example, baseboards that your home inspector says baseboards probably need to be replaced, and you've looked at 3 or 4 houses and their baseboards need to be replaced too, but they're not, well, do yours really need to be replaced in that case? If your your home inspector says, I got to replace those baseboards, and you've looked at 2 or 3 houses and man, they replaced the baseboards and they did some other stuff. And so obviously you have to replace your baseboards, although baseboards aren't a health and safety item. So it's just an aesthetic item. But we need to know that. So when we get back the report and we start looking at that report and our knowledge of our neighborhood will tell us more than just what the report would do. So the report's going to point out the baseboards, but it's not really going to tell you if you should replace it. The neighborhood, your knowledge that you're picking up at the same time of that report being done is going to. So I want you to get, the first thing is BPO, get under contract, first thing, BPO, then do your home inspection, do your inspection on some comparable sales. What's for sale, okay? What your competition is, that kind of stuff. And then this is where I want you to ask yourself your question. Do I want to get an appraisal? What is my benefit to me of my appraisal? Now, I think that there's a lot of benefit to an appraisal. And frankly, I think you should get an appraisal. However, up to this point, you've spent probably maybe $350 on your BPO because of the 3 units. You spent, let's call it another $350 on your home inspection. So you're at $700. I know on a triplex, your appraisal is going to cost you more than the $325 or the $350. So it's probably going to be closer to the $500 range. So you're going to have about $1,200 into this thing with an appraisal. What the appraisal does for us is it confirms what we know. We know what we know. But someone else is telling us we're a genius kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you really do know what you know. Because at this point, we shouldn't get an appraisal and learn that, we thought we knew. It should only confirm for us what we know. And there may be an aha moment there for a lot of folks. But it should only be confirming what you know, not what you don't know. Because if we get to the point of getting the BPOs, doing the home inspection, looking at the comparables around the subject property as a home inspector would, and we have all this information back to us, we should be comfortable knowing that the appraisal is going to come back. And I think it's important to get an appraisal because at some point we're going to probably want to sell the property or borrow money against the property. And it's a lot nicer knowing, although we know, you can, I know my wife loves me, but I love hearing her say, Michael, I love you. So I know my wife loves me. So I'm 100% with that one. But I still like her saying it, so I like her confirming it for me. So that's kind of what an appraisal appraisal does. So although we know it all and we know it, I'm probably going to try to sell the property so the appraisal is going to be valuable. Not to use for the buyer, but to justify to the buyer, I have a real value here. But then I may need to borrow money. And again, it's not going to be used to borrow the money. It's a tool that can tell a lender, private lender or conforming lender, that you actually have an asset, a solid asset. So I think it's important. But it's your money. So that's kind of what I would do in this case. Is again, I'm just rehashing it, and I hate rehashing it, but I think it's an important rehashing. Get it under contract, guys and gals. Get it under contract. Don't be afraid of the contract, okay? Don't be afraid of it. Don't be irresponsible to it either. Don't be irresponsible to the seller. Don't be irresponsible to yourself. Get under contract, start your due diligence. Once you find that you can't or won't be buying the property, let everybody know. All right? That's our job. That's what we do. I liked this podcast. I don't know if I helped whomever sent it in, but I liked it. And I think it's important. I think the thing that I could learn or help someone learn out of this podcast is do something, even if it feels uncomfortable, and fall forward. I appreciate you guys. And we're going to do another podcast tomorrow. And it looks like on my calendar, just for you folks that like listening to my podcast, I do appreciate that, by the way, that we're going to start doing one a day. And some days we will do two. We're going to have some guests on our podcast, which is kind of really cool for me. I actually get to play Anderson Cooper or one of those other people that interview folks. Maybe I'll be Oprah Winfrey on some days. That'll be kind of cool too. So until next time, you guys take care. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.